My name is Raven. Piss off, jerks.
Cheers, Raven. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And you're watching the Deansy Boys show. Hey guys, this is Reece Deans of the Deansy Boys show, and alongside with me is
Aaron Langley.
And today we'll be telling you our story about meeting Raven in Newport at the Pearl Millennium Centre. And it didn't take us long to get there, Aaron, didn't it?
No, we expected it to be at least an hour or two, and then we got there in half an hour, so can't complain.
And then we had to wait for a few hours, mainly 3 hours. But it didn't take us long to get there, even though the train station was 24 minutes away by walking. So when we got there, it wasn't really all set up. It wasn't really, I wouldn't say organised. It was more like it just wasn't. They were not there. It was not there. There was a party going on, so we thought, right, we got to do something for the next 3 hours. And what did we do?
We went to the pub.
We went to the pub, and it was only a few feet away. It was a nice little pub, a bit grotty, but you got to love a grotty pub. We had a few pints. Well, I've had a pint of Coke. He had a pint of fruit juice. Yeah, he had a Carlsberg. I say fruit juice, but it doesn't really matter. But anyway, as soon as we got there, we went into this little small hall, which was kind of weird actually, because I was expecting it to be in the big hall, you know.
Yeah, it was smaller than I expected.
Especially when we walked down this corridor, we went into, we went into the Pearl Millennium Centre, then we turned left, and we walked down a small corridor, and then we had to turn right, and it was just only a small little hall for which can do for parties and all that sort of things. And there was not many chairs out.
No.
I was a bit disappointed. Not the fact that there was not many chairs out or anything like that, but when the people started coming in, that was when I got a bit disappointed to the fact that not many people turned up.
Yeah, there was a lot of reserve seats that was missing as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of reserve seats that was missing, and what really reminded me of that situation was the fact that if any of you guys seen The Wrestler, haven't you realised that at the start of the film that this Mickey Rourke, who plays Randy the Ram, is like he was a all-time big star, like he was a Hulk Hogan in the storyline in his day, but then he's all washed up in these wrestling community centres and all that sort of things. You know, you're living on the big time in WWE and WCW, and now you're doing speeches in small community halls where not many fans are there. And that's why I felt bad for Raven. I thought he should have had a lot more people coming, but that's my opinion. What's your opinion on it?
I completely agree, to be honest. I was expecting more people and more chairs.
Anything else?
Nope.
Well, that's about it. No. Anyway, as soon as he got there, I was quite surprised. I think it was probably because of the effects of drugs and the bumps and all the hardcore matches he's taken.
A lot of chair shots to the head.
A lot of chair shots to the head. He looked a bit out of place, but then again, there's people who look differently in different ways. You know, someone could be dirty, but they could be healthy. Someone could be clean, looks clean, but they could be taking drugs for all we know. Aaron, no, I'm kidding. Anyway, he started talking for the next 45 minutes on a whole different story. He was asked about the crucifix scene in which they crucifix Sandman.
There was a lot of controversy around it.
It was a lot of controversy, yeah. Kurt Angle was supposed to be signing for ECW, but he didn't because of that. And even though the fan just simply said, what happened? What did Raven do? He just went completely off the rails that bit. Not like going crazy, but his story just...
Yeah, it went on for about 45 minutes and it was just coming around and around, yeah.
Yeah, just coming around to it, and the next 45 minutes he was talking about the industry, he was talking about...
face and heel turns.
What's real, what's quote-unquote fake. You know, he was just talking about all this ridiculous things that you'd probably be wondering why we'd be talking about it. But it was actually an interesting story coming from him, because, of course, you'd be hearing it from, excuse me, from different perspectives, from like Kurt Angle or Bret Hart. You'd be hearing it from them, but hearing it from Raven, who
has been in the business a very long time.
Very long time, over 20 years, I heard.
Yeah.
Of like what we were watching. It was over 21 years, and he was saying about, like, you know, it could be a nasty industry to go in, or it could be a good industry. You know, you just got to work your way around it, and that's what Raven done when he went to WWF at the time, or he went to ECW, then WCW, and you know, those three big companies, what made Raven to this day. And of course, there was TNA. I forgot to mention about TNA, and this guy right here is a big fan of TNA because he could not stop talking about it throughout the entire day.
Well, in my defense, Raven did say it helped him end his career when it comes to the big shows like TNA, like WWE. It helped him a lot to end it the way he wanted to.
That's very true. And we've asked a few questions. Though we had the podcast episode, and when we had that interview with Raven, me and Aaron asked him one question. I think we asked a couple of questions, because there's not many people who actually had the confidence to say, yeah, can I ask you this? But I asked him about his triple threat match against Kane and the Big Show at WrestleMania 17, and it's also on the podcast, people, just to let you know that. But he actually went into more detail when I asked him during this speech where everyone is there, not on the podcast, and he was saying that he nearly ruined WrestleMania.
He could have destroyed WrestleMania 17.
One of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. And the reason why is because he was...
All because of a golf cart.
Oh, because of a golf cart, yeah. There was if you look back on WrestleMania 17, on that match in particular, the bit where Big Show and Raven are on this little golf caddy thing...
where Kane's supposed to be chasing them around the building.
Yeah, so originally it was supposed to go around the building and start doing that wacky racist chase moments, that kind of style. But unfortunately, Ravens drove the golf cart off the side, went into a little ditch, and if you can pause it or can look very carefully, you can see wires coming down. Now, if one of those wires was to break, WrestleMania 17 would have been over just like that. That's it. I mean, it was really interesting to hear from Raven.
I did enjoy the fact that he said he gladly didn't do it, but he also wished he did do it because it would have been funny either way.
Funny either way. Raven should have been the one to ruin WrestleMania 17. And could he be the one to end the streak? Probably not. But
well, probably because he would have ruined that WrestleMania.
Yes, he could have ruined WrestleMania. But there were oh man. But there could have been other moments where he was also telling about WrestleMania 17 how like he went through the glass window, and he jokingly said there was a crash mat waiting for him, you know, and talking about his days as ECW champion, and he was going on all sorts of things, you know, and like I said, he was going off the rails a bit, but he actually answered my question about WrestleMania 17. But you asked him a question, Aaron.
Yeah, I asked him who he would like to work with if he had the chance, and he said he would really like to work with Triple H, which he never got a chance to, or Sabu.
But didn't they work in not ECW? Well, I've seen ECW. I'm actually curious now because Sabu and Raven were in TNA and ECW.
Ravens said that Paul Heyman didn't want them two working together at the time, so he kept separating them and keeping them apart. And Raven brought Sabu to TNA, but again they ended up in like a fatal four-way match, so he never got to properly work one-on-one with Sabu.
I would go and pay good money to watch this independent wrestling match with Raven and Sabu. So any wrestling promotions out there, get them now. But at the same time, I've heard some well, not really sad news from Sabu, but Sabu has to have a hip replacement,
yes.
And he needs the money all he can to get back on track, and RVD's doing it. So wrestling fans, I'm going directly to all you wrestling fans out there. If you've got money to spare and you don't know what to do with it, donate to Sabu. Let's get that hip replacement. We need that guy back, right? So get donating. So I asked him another question about why he wasn't appearing in ECW One Night Stand, and because Aaron remembers more than me and I've got him on the show again, I need to ask him, what did he say to me?
He said at first WWE didn't want him there, so TNA was going to send him over, but WWE didn't want him, so he decided, okay.
I thought it was the other way around though.
No, that's how it started.
Oh, okay.
But then when WWE thought, wait, we can't have an ECW One Night Stand without Raven, they offered money for him and they wanted him for one night, and then TNA wouldn't let him go. So they both screwed him over.
And this is why WWE and TNA don't like each other. Well, not because of that reason. There's plenty of other reasons, but we can't go into that much detail because it's all about our night with Raven.
And we haven't got that much time.
So let's quickly get this done and dusted now. As soon as the questions have been answered, he went off to sign some autographs, and we got a few signatures. He was selling t-shirts. I regretfully not bought one. I'm actually gutted, but
I know, I wish I bought one too.
I wish I bought one, but I think it's online.
Yes.
Right, it's online, so we can always get it online. But at the same time, we've asked Nigel, the promoter of Exposure Wrestling Entertainment, if we can have an interview, and this was before the event started. And I got to give credit to Nigel. He was actually very excited and interested that we wanted to interview him, and we trying to get our podcast up and running, or the show running, so trying to get the Deansy Boy show to a whole new level. So he was always helping us, but it got to a point where when everyone was leaving, that person and his wife.
Yes.
I won't go into much detail because we've said a lot of nasty stuff about the couple, so we're not going to say any more. Bunch of fucking pricks. But anyway, they were basically talking to Raven for a near half hour to an hour, and it was getting to a point where it was about the centre was about to close, and we were getting really frustrated, including I was getting frustrated.
I'm really worried that we weren't going to get this podcast done.
Yeah, so we were actually disappointed, but Nigel and the assistant to Raven said to us to go and wait for him in the cafeteria. Of all the places,
Yeah.
to go to the cafeteria and we'll interview him there. But we went, we set it up. It got a bit nervous because one of my podcast websites was down. It was not working, so I got a bit frustrated again.
There was a lot of frustration, yeah.
No, but then it worked as soon as Raven got by, and but then we had to wait for him because he was counting his money. What the hell? Lend me a few quids, Raven, come on, I need to get this Deansy Boy show up and running. But anyway, we got the interview. And guys, if you haven't seen the interview, you can always look it online. It's just basically the Deansy Boy Show podcast, episode 15, special guest with Raven, and alongside my good friend Aaron Lamleet, who asked him the question about his days in TNA. I've asked a few questions as well about his days in WWF and ECW. I didn't want to ask about WCW, but then again, we had to know about the time where WCW was buying out all the ECW wrestlers. But as soon as afterwards we had the podcast interview, we actually, if you listen very carefully, on the very end of the podcast, we're packing up. We're packing up because they were telling us to go, and we had to get out. So I had to carry the laptop, and well, actually you had to carry the laptop. I had to carry the microphone, and as we were making our way out, we were saying our goodbyes, and that's a whole new experience actually for the Deansy Boy show, and it was very good. It's a nice little moment as well. So if you
never got rushed out of the building before.
No, never got rushed out of the building. Never got told to fuck off, and that's the thing. We're gonna need some bleeps. We're gonna have to have some bleeps because I've been swearing a lot. Well, only a few, but yeah, we'll send out a bit of a warning, or okay. Raven will. But anyway, we had a good night, and unfortunately we couldn't get the train back, but my good friend Aaron got his mum and dad to come and pick us up from Barry all the way to Newport. And
otherwise we would be fucked.
We'd be fucked in the ass, by a couple of people from Newport, but there was before we conclude, there was actually another moment that during the podcast show, me and Aaron had this little competition where who had the best question for Raven, and if one didn't have the best question, then the other person, they get the DDT, and of course Aaron won. Does this mean I'm gonna have to, because Raven didn't give me a DDT, does this mean I'll have to have a DDT from you?
Probably.
We'll do that another time. I think Lewis has got it all set and ready now, but we won't do it now. We'll do it towards the end of the show. But we're going to have to move on to our next episode, which is coming up shortly, and it's going to be a whole new experience. So Aaron's has officially joined the Deansy Boy show, and we can't wait to have our good friend Lewis Winter come on the next episode. I'm your host, Reece Deans.
I'm Aaron Langley.
Goodbye.
Get it out!